The IOC have conceded to ongoing calls to postpone the Olympics. They have decided to postpone the Olympics to next year. Thomas Bach, the president of the IOC, had a meeting with Shinzo Abe over the phone, discussing the situation. And things had reached a head yesterday when Australia joined Canada in basically boycotting the Olympics. The Canadians were the first nation to openly say we will not send athletes to this year's Games, citing the concerns over the coronavirus. Australia followed suit. The British Olympic Association, which is the governing body for all UK athletes, was hinting at also joining the list of nations that wouldn't send athletes. And this comes a few days after the IIHF postponed the World Championship Ice Hockey Tournament in Switzerland. Now, the IIHF is a player at the IOC level when it comes to the Winter Olympics because of the Winter Olympic Ice Hockey Tournament, which is a IIHF sanctioned event. And when they're postponing an event and doing so and postponing all their events till next year, that would have been a big sign when their showpiece events, the women's, the men's and the World Juniors, were called off, that the Olympics could not take place. But the real wake-up call was when Canada and Australia, within 24 hours of each other, said, we are not sending athletes to the Olympics. It left the IOC in a very difficult position. The last time nations boycotted was in the 80s. And that was in 1980 when the US boycotted the Moscow Olympics, and in 1984 when the Soviet Union boycotted the LA Olympics over tensions to do with the war in Afghanistan. That was a political boycott. This is a boycott not for political reasons, but for health concerns. And I think the IOC backed themselves into a corner. They said they would give themselves 4 weeks, but the longer they left it, the more difficult it would become to rearrange or reschedule or postpone. They're running out of legroom. They're running out of wiggle room, and it should never have got to this point. I think a postponement should have been announced earlier, and it hasn't covered the IOC in a lot of glory. This is an organisation which has had a very troubled history to do with corruption, or how Olympics were awarded, things like that. We know there's corruption allegations going back to Salt Lake City, Nagano in '98, Salt Lake City in 2002, the Winter Olympic Games, issues to do with the Rio Games, the Athens Games. There's been a whole host of allegations against the IOC for poor governance and corruption. And this was a poor governance decision to leave the decision to postpone the Olympics as late as they did. Hopefully this time next year the situation will be much different, much improved, but they have decided to postpone the Olympics by 12 months, and it is the right decision. But it should come as no surprise that the Olympic Games should have been postponed. Look at Euro 2020, look at the IIHF World Championships. These are two big international sporting events that were postponed earlier by governing bodies going, this is not workable right now. The IOC should have done this a lot sooner. It shouldn't have taken two nations to formally boycott and one more nation to, prepare to boycott, and raising concerns about the welfare of the athletes and spectators for the IOC to act. If they can't see with their own eyes what's going on around the world, then it beggars belief. And it should never have got to this point. This action should have been taken far sooner. But there we go. The IOC has agreed to postpone the Olympics by a year. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'm really interested to hear what people have to say about this, as basically global sport has gone into complete and utter shutdown. And we don't know when we're going to get back to normal. Some leagues want to get back to normal in April, others in May, some in June. Some sporting events obviously are going to take place next year. So it'll be very interesting to see, when we see sporting events start up again, and it'll be interesting to see, which is the first sport to take the leap of faith and try and get their season restarted, for example, or trying to complete their season. It'll be very interesting to see which sport is the brave one to be the first professional sport to get back into action. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more videos for you very, very soon.